Alright, made it to episode 9. Awesome. We also have a visitor. Her name is Pippa. I guess she likes this too, so yeah. Oh yeah, and in this episode, let me see if I can find this. There are some new characters to introduce. So hopefully this doesn't make the recording like 10 times longer, but I mean, if it does, it's not just me talking about the episode. Like, there's other stuff, right? Okay. The first actor that I gotta introduce, his name is Harry Hu. He plays a character called Xie Gochu, who's Lord of the Netherworld. This guy's born June 27th, 1989, 32 years old, which I wouldn't have guessed. I'm horrible with ages anyway, but I still wouldn't have guessed. Our next character, his name is Ben Hu, and I don't think they're related, but I could be wrong, but I'm gonna assume they're not. He plays a character who's named Song Xuan Ying. Now let's see if I can describe this right. So when Donghua goes to the moral world, the person that he becomes, his shadow becomes, is born into, whatever you want to call it, has an older brother, and so that's who this person is, the older brother to the Donghua's earthly character, whatever you want to call him, you know. Born November 17th, 1984, 36 years old. Wouldn't have guessed that either. They all look so young. And then we have Gao Shu Gong, and he is the emperor and the father of Donghua's mortal version. Born April 24th, 1964, 57. And then I really love this next character. He's one of my favorites too, and I think he would be counted as like a supporting actor, but I think of him as a main character because even though he wasn't in that first part, he really has a lot to do with the rest of the story, and he's very much a main character in it, and I absolutely love him. His name is Zhu Xiao Ying. Sorry if I slaughtered the name. The character that he plays in the show, now, I've always, whenever I listen to it, I try to listen to it, in the show, I've heard it as Yi Jing-ti, but I looked it up on Google, and Google says it's Yi Jing-tai, so I don't know. We'll see. I'll try to, I don't know which way I'm going to pronounce it. We'll see what I do. And then I wanted to do an honorable mention because I forgot to. It was back when Jiang and Minsu were on that mountain together and in trouble, and that big dragon shows up, and it turns out to be Jiang's father. Totally forgot to introduce the actor in that case. His name is Zhang Ming, Jiang's father, as I said. December 13th, 1988, 32 years old. Again, none of these people I would have, yeah. Okay, so I believe we left off in the last episode with Fang Zhu thinking about what Jingwei told her about these guys that she's scaring off. And so the beginning of episode 9, here's another name I always say Jian, because that's what it sounds like when I'm listening to it in the show. But again, Google said Zheyan. Who knows? But we're with him and Bai Zhen, and they are talking about Fang Zhu and how she treats her suitors. So kind of connecting the episodes there. Zheyan actually thinks her choice of Donghua was a really good one. That they should be together, but and then they're talking about whether she's really over him because she keeps herself so busy, like she never stops, like it's like she's trying to do all these things so that she will forget or so that she won't think about him, which I can understand. And Weiguang wants to know, okay, well, why can't she have a happy marriage? He's definitely feeling for her. This is where we get to meet Xie Gucho, Lord of the Netherworld. He comes to see Fangju because he noticed that there has been some past life magic that has been used. And other than him and the guy that used it, nobody else can use it. So he notices this, and he knows it's been used on Donghua, and he knows about the shadow. He also knows about Donghua. He's supposed to go to the mortal world in like 300 years after this, and he comes to tell Fangju so that she can repay Donghua, even though he doesn't think she owes him anymore because she's done enough. But Fangju tells him that, you said that my sorrow would fade over time, but it's not. It's been hundreds of years. It's still the same. I still feel sad. Well, she's like, okay, well, maybe you need longer. It's not been long enough. He thinks, like I said, that she's given enough. She, made so many sacrifices for him. She, left her family and her friends, and she's been humiliated, and she's almost been killed. But her debt should be paid. But she's like, no, that doesn't count. I need to actually repay this. So she decides to send half of her shadow to be with Donghua's shadow to help him. And Xie Gucho is like, okay, well, what if your shadow doesn't repay the kindness? What if it doesn't work out? And then she's like, well, then in 300 years when he goes to the mortal realm, I'll go with him and I'll help him. So he's like, okay, well, I'll let you know the outcome here. And then next we get to see Donghua. He finally wakes up after being passed out. He's still very, very sick. The makeup they did was great too. So pale, so purplish, bluish lips. He's used almost all of his cultivation for this. But he knows he has to be ready for the next time that he goes to the Miaoyi Chasm. Hopefully I said that right. But he's got to be ready. He knows something's coming up. He knows she's getting stronger. And so he's like, you know what? I need to go to the mortal realm now to get my cultivation back. I can't wait. So they send him to the mortal realm. We get this little in-between here where this huge thunderstorm going on. It's a very tense situation. And there is a woman who is giving birth. It was just after this scene where he's like, well, I have to go to the mortal realm. So we know who's being born. The spirit or shadow of Donghua. And right when he's born, lightning strikes the house. Doesn't burn it down, but it strikes. And all the people are super afraid because it's a bad sign. They're like, no, this is a bad sign. But as the emperor is holding his new baby, he's super happy, you can see it. They come and tell them that his wife died. So I'm gonna guess that's what was the bad news. Because he absolutely loved this woman. But despite all of this stuff happening, he still has to deal with all these crises that are happening in the empire, flooding and droughts and all these everything, and he still has to deal with it. It just shows you how difficult this is. And he's actually a really good emperor. But he names the baby boy, so Donghua, his name now is Zhuanren. So try to remember that. I'll try to remind you that that's what his name is. But And he doesn't, this shadow of himself that is in this mortal form does not remember anything. All he knows is that he's mortal. We get to see Chang Yu. She notices that Donghua is absent, and she thinks it's suspicious. So she goes to Ximing for an answer, and he's kind of like, I don't know what you're talking about. Don't know. And so finally she's like, okay, all right. If you don't tell me, I'm going to send Lian Song to ask you instead, which I'm going to assume she thinks Lian Song doesn't know, or I don't know what the situation is, but Ximing's like, no. No, you don't need to do it. No. He's like, okay, don't tell anybody, which, yeah. And he tells her, and she knows that he's gone to the mortal realm early, and she goes to tell Fangzhu. So Fangzhu immediately goes to Ximing and is like, where is he? He's not supposed to go for like 300 years. But he does not want her to mess with things, because he has to experience this misfortune in order to get his cultivation back. And so if she messes it up, then he's not going to be able to get his cultivation back, and it'll have been for nothing. But she sees where he puts the scroll, and she goes to get it. Sorry, guys. Death storm. We're left hanging there for a second. But again, we go to the mortal realm. We're down there, we're hearing this storyteller. He's telling the story of this kingdom, Chengdu, which is where Donghua is born. And he's telling how it came to power, and they were in this war. Oh yeah, Nye Chuyan happens to be sitting there too. But they were in this war, and their side is desperate. They're almost losing. And the one night there's something falls from the sky, makes this huge crater. It gives them the victory. The enemies run away, and they find this green stone, and they call it the Lingbi stone. Now, Nye Chuyan knows exactly what it is, and so do we. And Nye Chuyan was saying, he was something about, it would be, since, what do you call it, soul locking jade is attracted to like all the negativity, a battlefield would be a perfect place for it to reform. So, now we get to have our first look at our immortal Donghua, or Zhuanren. And they are all gathered together, and they're going to go on this big hunting thing on horses, and they're going to see who can get the highest prize by the birds that they kill. Not just the number, but the rarity of the bird too. Depends on how many points they get. And right off the bat, things are suspicious, because Zhuanren starts going out, his horse just dies all of a sudden. Like, he's not even out the gate, and the horse dies. And soon after that, we get to meet another antagonist. Here we go. His older brother, like I said, Sang Shuanying. You know what? I swear I said his name was something else. This is what it said in the... Sang Shuanying. No? Okay. Just second guessing myself. But we get to meet him, and you can totally tell he's going to be trouble. You can tell. A lot of these characters that are trouble, you can tell are going to be trouble. And another person that we finally get to meet here, Yi Qingti. Is it Qingti? Qingtai? Yi Qingtai? Maybe I should go with Google. Should I go with Google? Okay. Love this dude. So, another little thing here. Yi Qingtai is also hunting, and he sees the same golden eagle that Zhuanren sees, and they're both gonna shoot it, but then I don't even know what it was, some animal is coming behind Yi Qingtai to attack him, and Juanren, instead of shooting the eagle, shoots the animal and saves Yi Qingtai's life. And for doing that, Yi Qingtai gives the eagle to Juanren because he's like, dude, we were both going after the same thing. You could have got it just as well as I could have, but instead you saved my life, so you deserve this. And and he actually figures out that he didn't know that it was the prince either. He's like, oh, didn't know you're the prince. But anyway, so gives the golden eagle to him, which makes Juanren win the entire contest. He gets like a horse, and he gets a sword and some armor, and he also gets, like I don't know if it's a prize or not, but he gets to lead an army to the border to stop enemies who have been coming onto their land and causing problems. And I'm going to assume that this is like an honor thing, like this is like a high honor or something to be doing something like this. Because nowadays I don't know who would be excited to be sent to a battle. Like, you win, you get to go to battle. You know, I don't know. But that's what I'm going to assume. Alright. So, we get to see a little bit later, after this whole thing is over, Juanren and his father are in, I don't know if it's a throne room, I don't know what you call that. And his father's like, well, okay, I signed you a vice commander. He's really good. He's going to be by your side. He's going to be helping you with the soldiers and all this battle. And in walks Yi Qingtai. And, well, Juanren is just like, sweet, because he knows this guy. He knows he's a good guy. He really likes him. So he's super excited. And then we get to go to our last scene. Catching Fangju reading the scroll about where Donghua is. And he's like, okay. He warns her, do not go because you could ruin the whole thing. And he needs, like, seriously, it's kind of like, reminds me of one of those, like, if you go into the past and there's one thing that's different, it's gonna start this whole other thing, and then, you know, it's just gonna be totally different. So it's like, don't go there. He also warns her that if she uses magic while she's there, it will cause something that's called a backfire, and it will harm her enough that it is really hard to heal from. They said, like, it damages their root, so their core. I don't know, is what I'm thinking. Like, it's a pretty bad consequence. But she has this inner conflict going at the very end, after she's like, oh, don't worry, I won't go. And you can tell she's just like, well, I don't know if I should, but then what if he gets hurt? And then, like, which seems like, don't, like, if you saw him get hurt, would you be able to just leave it? Or if he was about to get hurt, would you be able to just let it happen? And she was like, no. So, but at the very end, I'm like, I think she's just rationalizing. I think part of her really does believe she's doing this for him, but I really do think a lot of it is rationalizing, because I've totally done this before too. And her reasoning is she has to think of somebody other than herself, so she's just gonna go and take a look, and that's where we're left. It fades out. And I mean, we know Fangju. We know just taking a look is not going to be just taking a look. So we'll see what, as I usually call it, shenanigans she's gonna get in, and get everybody else in with her for this next episode. And 1920. Oh, it was just about as long. Okay, sweet. Maybe I talked faster or something. I have no idea. But that was episode 9. Can't wait to do episode 10. Hopefully I'll have time this week. It's back to school, so it might be a little hectic this week. We will see. But for now, Comment and like and subscribe. You can come and find me on social media, which I will have in the description. I will also have a link to this episode in the description, so you can just go straight there and watch it, either before or after you watch this, either way, or even if you don't watch it. But anyway, so that's it for now. I already said comment, and I already said to come and visit me, and okay, so I will see everybody next week, or next time. Yeah, next time.